Merhaba, hoş geldiniz. Türkçe Tahinli Çörek is a traditional Turkish sweet roll made with simple yeast dough rolled flat and smeared with a mixture of sesame paste and sugar. It's then rolled up like a cinnamon roll and coiled to resemble a snail shell. Even with a buttery molasses topping and sesame seeds, they are not overly sweet, but hit the spot for a grab-and-go, satiating breakfast or a quick snack. Tahinli çöreks are commonly sold by street vendors in Istanbul, Turkey. Similar versions are found all over Cyprus, Greece, and Armenia. While there are different versions that may include honey and cinnamon on the tops, the basics are pretty much the same. Let's check them out. For the dough ingredients, you'll need milk, yeast, granulated sugar, all-purpose flour, salt, and butter. For the filling, you'll also need tahini, and for the toppings, you'll also need molasses and sesame seeds. We'll begin by activating the yeast. So you want to add 595 milliliters, which is about 1 1/4 cups of milk to a measuring cup. You want to heat it in the microwave for 30 to 60 seconds until it reaches between 100 and 110 degrees. Mine is there. In a small bowl, we're going to add 7 grams, 2 1/4 teaspoons, which is 1 package of active dry yeast. Measure out 25 grams, which is 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Add that to the yeast. And then you want to give them both a quick stir. We're going to eyeball about 59 milliliters, which is 1/4 cup. Just pour that in with the yeast. And then give that a stir to where everything is combined and blended well. We're going to set this aside for about 10 minutes for the yeast to become activated, meaning it's bubbly and frothy. To make the dough in a stand mixer bowl or a large bowl, if you're going to be stirring and kneading by hand here, we're going to add 480 grams, which is 4 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to add 2 grams, which is 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then give that a whisk to combine. In a small bowl, I have 2 tablespoons, which is 28 grams of diced butter. I'm going to heat it to melt in the microwave in 20 seconds. Usually does the trick. That worked. My butter is melted, so I'm going to pour it into the remaining milk. If your milk has cooled down when you added the butter, then you might want to check the temperature. If it's too cool, then you want to place it back in the microwave for about 15 to 20 seconds to get the temperature back up to that 100 to 110 degree mark. Conversely, if it's too warm, just let it sit until it cools down. With the dough hook attached and the machine on low, slowly pour in the activated yeast mixture. Pour in the milk and butter mixture. Use a spatula to scrape down the bowl edges as needed. Release all that flour that's hanging out on the edges. Knead on low to medium speed for about 10 minutes. The dough should be tacky and pull away from the bowl edges as it's kneading. Add additional flour or water 1 tablespoon at a time as needed to reach the tacky consistency. Okay, our dough is nice and kneaded. So just remove it from the dough hook. It's a nice, soft, pliable dough. So just mound it back into the bottom of the bowl. You're going to cover the bowl with a towel or plastic wrap. And we're just going to let the dough rest for 30 minutes. There really isn't much rising, just resting time. In the meantime, we're going to make the sweetened tahini filling. So in a small bowl, we're going to add 384 grams, which is 1 1/2 cups of tahini, which is just sesame paste. And we're going to add 200 grams, which is 1 cup of granulated sugar. And then we're going to stir. Should be smooth and runny. And then just set it aside. Preheat the oven at 375 degrees. You're going to line 2 baking sheets with parchment paper. And you're going to set them aside. Let's take a look at the dough. Got a little bit of rise going in that 30 minutes. So just remove it from the bowl. You're going to place it on an unfloured work surface. Go ahead and deflate it. We're going to divide the dough into 8 equal pieces. You can eyeball your cuts or you can weigh them. I just weighed mine. My dough is 830 grams. Divided by 8 is going to be between 103 and 104 grams each piece. Once your dough is divided into 8 pieces, for each piece I like to smooth them out into a nice smooth ball, and you can easily just do that on an unfloured work surface. The friction will help to seal the ball. Set each dough ball aside on a plate and cover with a towel to keep them from drying out. You continue doing that for all 8 of your dough balls. See how quickly he is to shape them into a ball. Remove one from the plate. This is where we can flour our work surface because we need it to roll these out. Okay, we're gonna roll this out using a rolling pin, each one of these, to about a 14-inch in diameter circle. Give it like think of it like a tortilla. If your dough starts to stick as you're rolling or starts to fold or crumple up, that means you don't have enough flour underneath. So just move that flour around periodically. Add more to the surface if you need it. Those last couple of rolls that you make to get to that 14-inch in diameter circle, go ahead and remove as much flour as you can from underneath, because at this point, when we add the tahini filling, we want the dough to stick to the surface because it'll make it easier for us to spread the tahini on, because it's gonna be a little thick. Now we want to divide our tahini up into eighths. So you can eyeball this or you can weigh it. So I'll place one in a bowl. It's about a quarter of a cup. And I heat my tahini up in the microwave because I need this tahini to be smooth as it can be, because you'll see when we start to put it on, it's not as easy to spread out. So I just put a little bit down and use the back of my spoon and smooth it out all the way around. And you're not meant to have a lot of tahini in one place because this is going to be rolled, and you're going to get plenty of tahini flavoring throughout the roll. So notice how I'm just using the back of the spoon to press the tahini mixture along the dough. Sesame paste is like a nut butter, or seed butter. Because it is a seed, right? So it's going to be fairly strong, so you don't need a thick layer of this anywhere. Start at one side and begin rolling your dough up tightly, just like you would a cinnamon roll. It's okay if you get a few tears in your dough along the way. They will be covered. It's okay if your tahini leaks out a little bit. You can always wipe it off. Because these rolls are so thin, it takes a little bit of work to roll them up. But once you get going, notice how it's starting to come together really fairly easily. Okay, then bring it to the center. Something I've learned is that this edge here, when you go to seal it, it'll kind of flop around. So if you add a little bit of tahini to it, sort of like glue, then it'll keep it closed a little bit more. Okay, once you roll it, just start in the center, and you can do a little bit of a squeeze and a pull out to the ends. We don't want to do too much of that, but we do want to get this a little longer. And I usually go for about 26 inches. Okay, so that's good. So then you're going to start at one end and you're going to start coiling it around to start like a snail. Leave about 1/8 of an inch between all of your coils. We do not want this to be tight because the coils are going to expand in the oven, and when they do, they need to expand out, not up. If they expand up, you're going to have a volcano on your hand with a tall mountain in the center, like so. Okay, so it looks like a snail shell. And then I like to go back, flatten it out, take the end and tuck it under like so. And then carefully lift it and place it on your baking sheet. So we're gonna place 4 per baking sheet. We're gonna cover it with another towel just to keep the rolls from drying out, and we'll continue making the other 3 that we're gonna bake on this cookie sheet. Okay, we're gonna continue following the same process. Flour your work surface, roll out to 14 inches in diameter, heat up about 1/4 cup of your tahini mixture, and then just start spreading it around, and then roll up. Stretch out. Very loosely coil up. Flatten out. Tuck under. Place on your baking sheet. My first batch, half of my çöreğs are ready to be cooked. I'm gonna bake one batch while I prepare the second batch. but we need to add the toppings. So in a small bowl, you want to add 2 tablespoons, which is 28 grams of butter. You want to melt that either on the stove or in the microwave. And then to that, we're going to add 30 milliliters, which is 2 tablespoons of molasses. I like a buttery, sweet topping on this bread, so I'm using molasses here, but you can just use a simple egg wash without any sugar. It's up to you. And then stir the two together. The purpose of this mixture and the egg wash is to give the bread color, but also a place to hold the sesame seeds that we're going to put on top. I've also made these before where I brush butter on the rolls and then put on some granulated sugar. And then you want to brush this mixture over the top of each of the rolls. And this molasses will give not only sort of a rich, deeper sweetness to it, but also it'll make them look nice and brown when they come out of the oven. You can also use honey instead. You can add a little bit of cinnamon over the top. And then as tradition, I'm gonna go back and sprinkle on some sesame seeds since that's what we have on the inside, sesame seed paste. We're gonna place our first batch of čoreks in the oven to bake for 30 minutes or until golden brown. And while these are baking, we'll make our second batch. Okay, I want to show you what a volcano looks like. And to get that, you would coil up your rope very tightly from the beginning. You can smash it down as much as you want. It's not going to help any. As long as it's coiled up tight, you're not giving it any space to expand, then it's going to grow upwards more than it does outwards. Tuck it under, like so. Smash it out. Okay, and then we'll see what this looks like when it's baked, when it's coiled too tightly. Okay, I'm finished up decorating my second batch. Well, my first batch is ready to come out of the oven. It was perfect timing. So this second batch is going into the oven and the first batch is just coming out. They are hot out of the oven. You can enjoy and eat them now. They are still good stored at room temperature for a few days or frozen in a sealed bag for several months. My second batch is out of the oven, but I wanted to show you what happens when you coil your rolls too tight is they rise from the center up, and if you coil that center even tighter, you'll have it poking up even more. So I've had them really tall before. This is what they should look like, where you have kind of one level there, right? It's not like it's not pretty on its own. It's just that's not how they're supposed to look. You know, it's the even browning on the top and the bottom. I love the snail shell shape because we had the molasses and butter topping. The seeds are staying on mostly. I like that the molasses gives the bread a little darker browning. The sesame seeds give it a crunch. The butter adds a little bit of shine and browning. Notice the coils are evenly spaced, pretty much the same size, right? Okay, let's check out the inside. Look at all of those layers of tahini. So we don't have any single bread area that is concentrated. There is tahini throughout this roll. I want you to see that it's got a little bit of stringiness to it when you pull it apart. Of course, it's mainly because of the layers, but also it's the recipe. You know, this bread is commonly a bit stringy, and it's sort of a cross between a pastry, sort of a cookie or a bread. So these are easily transportable. So you could just take these as you go, put them in a little bag or a paper sack, eat them on your way wherever you're going. These guys make a terrific on-the-go treat. We really enjoy these sweet rolls. While very popular in other parts of the world, they are quite a different treat for Americans. However, if you're looking for something not too sweet and you enjoy tahini, you should really enjoy these rolls. Thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing. Teşekkür ederim ve iyi şanslar. Until next time, go bake the world.